My name is Paul, and tonight I'll be sharing with you a couple of things. And before we begin, I wanted to give a very brief illustration, both to capture your attention and to illustrate a point. Mostly to illustrate the point. The attention thing, I feel like you can do it. I'm not. You guys will stay awake. Okay, so when we read the Bible, there are different layers to the word. There's different layers to the Bible. Maybe I'll say it like this. The Bible that I read to Benji is not the same Bible I read to you. Does that make sense? Let me illustrate. When I read the Bible to Benji, Benji's my son, who's 4, by the way, sorry. When I read the Bible to Benji, I pretty much just tell him the story of what's going on in the Bible. I tell him this is Moses. He got God's people out of Egypt. And then he's pretty much happy with that. And that's all he needs to know. And he's like, okay. And he believes every word I say, which is great. But do you think there's more to the Bible than just that? Yeah, let's get some nods, some agreement. Yeah, okay, good. Okay. So there's another layer of the Bible that's more than just the story of the Bible, more than just what's going on. And that is what we would call the meaning behind the story, or you could call it the revelation in the Bible. And then there's something even deeper than that. Do you know that? It's called the application of the Bible being applied to you. And I would say even this, the Bible becoming something that doesn't just mean something to you, but it changes who you are. That's the level we want to get to tonight. You ready for my illustration? Okay. I wanted a watermelon, but I only found an apple, so it's gonna have to do an apple. So an apple is this is like the story I tell Benji. Here, it's got, the facts are, it's red and yellow. It's got a stem. It's got this little thing on the bottom. I don't know what that is, but anyway, it's got that. But is that all there is to the apple? So there's deeper meaning behind the apple, right? So we can cut the apple. I hope this is not messy. Okay. Well, if it is, we'll clean up. Okay, you guys ready? So we can cut the apple. Should have got a real knife. This is my pocket knife. Okay. Oh, it is kind of. Okay. Whoop, that was close. Oh, we're okay. Okay. I'm usually good with knives, but maybe not in front of everybody. All right. So now we have a cut apple. So there's meaning behind this. There's a little bit more significance from just the skin, right? There's a little bit something here, a little bit deeper. This is the reason why the apple exists. Okay. Now, Max, come up here real quick. You're not allergic to apples, are you? I don't think anybody is, right? It's not a thing. Okay. So Max is going to apply the apple.
Am I gonna eat it?
Yes. Just take a bite. So you got so you got the facts of the apple. The apple is red. It's good, right? It's a good apple.
It is kind
Katie,
of thick.
yeah, you can, yeah. So you got the facts of the apple. Then you have the revelation of what's inside the apple. Thank you. Appreciate that. This is mostly for you, actually. Here you go. You have the revelation of what's inside the apple. But if you have the facts and the revelation, you don't take a bite, I mean, you're missing out, don't you think? So you take both halves.
Cool.
So, okay. Thank you, Max. Actually, hold on, Max. Let me get one of those napkins real quick. I just need to wipe my knife off so you can have it back. You guys don't put a sticky knife away. Okay, thank you. All right. Do you understand the illustration? Do you get it? So tonight, we're trying to go beyond just the outward appearance, beyond just the meaning of it, all the way to the meat of it. So it can actually supply us and change us. Okay? That took longer than I thought it was going to take, but it's okay. All right. The story that we're covering tonight, or the section of Exodus we're covering tonight, is, I'm guessing it's a story that you probably all know. If you know the story of the 10 plagues, raise your hand. Okay, pretty much everybody. So But what we're going to share tonight about the 10 plagues is a little bit deeper than there was 10 plagues and, they left Egypt. There's layers of significance. So before we jump into the first slide, I'm going to ask you guys a question. What did God, through Moses, tell Pharaoh when he wanted them to leave? Do you guys remember what he said? Let my people go. Anybody else?
To build an altar.
Close.
To worship.
Very close. Very good. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay. So can we all agree on let my people go? That's what everyone thinks of. Let my people go. That's spot on. But like Madeline shared, that's only one half of the demand. The other half is that they may hold a feast to me in the wilderness. That's the other half of the story. So we're going to focus on that half tonight, just so you know. So let's look at the word. Oh, okay, we're exposing the world. Yeah, we'll get to this. We'll get to the title. All right. So how about this half of the room read Exodus 5:1. Ready, set, go. Okay, let's do it one more time. Except let's be a little bit more excited about it. So when I read to my kids, I have to read to them in an excited way. Otherwise, they will walk away. So, or actually, most importantly, really, they're on my lap. If I don't keep it interesting, they're just going to dip. And I like to snuggle my kids on my lap. So pretend like you're reading to kids and just read the underline part. Okay, ready, set, go. Hold on, time. Just this part. Okay, ready? Underline. Ready, set, go.
Let my people go, that they may hold a feast to me in the wilderness.
Very good. Benji would have been locked in. Good job, guys. Okay. So he has a demand. Let my people go. And what is the demand? It's that they may hold a feast to me in the wilderness. Now, this half, you guys ready? You guys got the lesson from their half. Okay. You guys read verse 3. Ready, set, go.
And they said,
Oh, good job.
God of the Hebrews has met with us. Let us go a 3 days' journey into the wilderness, that we may sacrifice to Jehovah our God. Otherwise, he will fall upon us with pestilence or sword.
Okay, very good. Okay, so the point, what's the reason why God wanted his people out of Egypt? I'll give you a hint. It's in the top of the slide. Anybody want to read it? There we go. And there we go. Okay, so two things. Number one, to be separated, which means to not be in the same place they were, to be out of Egypt, and to hold a feast to him. And there's also this detail that they would sacrifice to Jehovah our God. So I want to make one comment, and then we'll dive back into this. Jehovah is God's name in the Old Testament. Other translations use the word Lord. Other translations use the word Yahweh. You can use whatever you want. Jehovah is the anglicized version, so this is what this translation says. Just so you know, this is God's name. This is what he calls himself, okay? Anyone know what it means? What Jehovah means? Someone said it. I heard it. There we go. Or you can just say I am. It just means I am. He is, God's name is the verb to be. It's pretty awesome. Okay, so he wanted them to get out of Egypt so they could hold a feast to him. Okay, this feast is, and Madeline actually touched it, this feast is actually worship. He wanted them out of Egypt so they could worship him. So I want you to write this down. I don't know if there's notes or whatever, but just write this down. Feasting is worship. Okay? Feasting is worship. Now, I think we all, or maybe most of us, had a non-worship feast yesterday, probably, at the Super Bowl. You had a feast, right? Some of you had a feast. I know Todd had a feast. So, can you have a feast by yourself, Todd? No. Good answer. A feast is something collective or something with a group of people. Is a feast sad? Have you ever been sad at a feast? I definitely have not. I guess there are exceptions. But a feast, by and large, and especially in this context, is made for enjoyment. It's made so that the people who are there can feast together. Okay, I think I can say this. I mean, I would say it anyways, but Matt's not here, so I think it's okay if he was. If he's listening, he can back me up. It's okay to say the story. Before Matt got married, Matthew, you were there, right? Gary, you were there, right? Okay. Before Matt got married, me and some of the guys had a feast for him as a little kind of like a little bachelor feast thing, and there was like 20 of us, right, Gary, or something like that. There was like 20 of us, and we made like 40 pounds of of meat. It was kind of over the top, but was it a feast? It was, Aaron. It was a feast. Okay, and we were kind of celebrating that Matt was going to get married, and it was pretty awesome. We had a really good time. It was very enjoyable, very pleasant. Okay, the point of the feast is not so much like the food. The point of the feast is more so that you're getting together and you're enjoying together. Okay, our worship to God needs to be a feast. If our worship to God is not a feast, spiritually, not necessarily physically, but spiritually, when we're worshiping God, if we're not happy at the bare minimum or enjoying Him, then maybe we're not really worshiping God. And I want you to note something, okay? I want you to note something. It's God who said this. The children of Israel did not ask to leave. We'll get back to this, but they didn't. It was Jehovah who said, "Let my people go." Okay? And there's also the side of sacrifice. There's a worship and there's sacrifice. Okay, so, and what, let's see. Todd, you have a loud voice. Okay, read the last phrase of this verse.
Starting at otherwise?
Yes.
Otherwise, he will fall upon us with pestilence or sword.
There we go. So, Jehovah's like, let my people go. They would hold a feast to me in the wilderness. Then Moses adds, otherwise, pestilence and sword, right? So he's like, do it, kind of, or else, right? That's a little bit of Moses' addition to the thing. Okay, so we got to keep going. I was not supposed to spend much time on that one point. All right. Okay, before we go to the next slide. So, actually, no, let's just do it. We got to roll. Sorry. Okay, but you guys stay focused. All right. So, what is Pharaoh's response? What does he say? What does Pharaoh say? He says, "Who is Jehovah that I should listen to his voice? That I should listen to his voice to let Israel go? I do not know Jehovah, and I also will not let Israel go." So he's like, "No, I'm not doing that." And he asks this question, "Who is Jehovah?" Do you think Pharaoh didn't know who Jehovah was? You can. What do you get? You can. Well, I don't know. I mean, I had the question. I was like, "Did he really not know who Jehovah was?" How long were they in captivity for? You guys know? 400 years. There we go. So it had been a long time. So it's very possible that Pharaoh didn't know. But applying it, getting to the meat of it a little bit more, is that haven't you heard this before? When maybe you're talking to a friend or talking to someone who's an unbeliever, and they just say like, "Who is Jesus? Who is that?" Almost in a mocking way, almost in like a way of like, I don't know this person. If he was real, he would show himself to me. You know, have you heard that before? Right? So that's kind of the spirit that Pharaoh has. He has a spirit of more so of mocking Moses. Okay, so who does? We got to get something very clear. I think we already know this, but we'll just get it clear right now. Who does Pharaoh represent in Exodus? Anybody know? If you know, shout it out. Or Ryan's going to raise his hand. Sorry. Ryan? Satan. There you go. Pharaoh represents Satan. Okay. So you can write down Pharaoh equals Satan. Okay. Another equation. What does Egypt represent? The world. Okay. So Pharaoh equals Satan. Egypt equals the world. Okay. So what is the situation in the world? It's not that great. I'll read you some verses. This is what the New Testament says. It says, "Now is the judgment of this world. Now shall the ruler of this world be cast out. Who's the ruler of this world? You guys know? Satan. Very good. Okay, so this is talking about Satan. Okay, 2 Corinthians 4:4, also talking about Satan, and says, in whom the God of this age has blinded the thoughts of the unbelievers. And then 1 John 5:19 says, we know that we are of God, and the whole world lies in the evil one. That's obviously talking about Satan. Okay, so Satan has a world system, which we're not going to get into in much detail right now. We will cover it, but not in crazy detail. But what it does is more important, is that it usurps God's people and brings them under slavery. Does anybody know what the word usurp means? Danny? Go ahead. Very good, very good. Okay, I got the definition because I was kind of curious, but that was really close. It says, I'll read it to you. Usurp is to take a position of power or importance illegally or by force. Yeah, it's very important detail. The illegal or by force is very important. So Satan wants to illegally or by force take over God's people. And you could use this term to occupy them or to keep them away from God, so God's people can't worship him, so God's people can't feast. Okay, so would you guys like to know, okay, how Satan usurps us? Let's get a little bit more like enthusiasm here. Okay, all right. Thank you. Okay, so, oh yes, I remember this slide. Okay, this one takes. Okay, how does Satan usurp us? Logical question, right? Okay, he usurps us. Satan takes the things we need for our existence and makes that our purpose. That's how he usurps us. He takes anything that we need for our existence, anything normal, anything that we need for our existence, and he makes it too much. He makes it beyond our need, and he makes it so it actually becomes who we are, and almost defining who we are. You guys want to see an example of this? Okay. Well, the slides are great. Okay, example. Okay, anybody know what this is? Very good. What's that again? Bro, good eye. That is caviar. Okay, so this is pizza, obviously. Okay, let me ask you a question before we dive into this. How much would you spend at the most on a piece of or on a whole pizza? That's 8-inch pizza. How much would you spend on an 8-inch pizza? Just yell it out. Big spender. Okay, let's go a little higher. How much? Like, what's your max you'd spend? 28. Okay. Yeah, fancy pizza. How much would you spend? I want to get. Okay. So hold on. Let me ask Matthew, because he's not in college, and he has a little bit more funds than the rest of you. Matthew, what's the most you spend on a piece of pizza, on a pizza, whole pizza? Oh, hold on. Let me give you more information. This is in Italy, and it's fancy, and it's got caviar. Okay, how much would you spend? Okay. That's a lot of money for pizza. That's right. Okay, you guys know how much pizza costs?
More than that?
$12,000. Okay, so is that a little bit unnecessary? You think maybe a little bit? Okay. All right. You want one other example? Okay, here we go. Anybody know what this is? Other than it's very strange looking. A face on a vase. Very good, Todd. Okay, so this is something that is necessary for our existence. It's water. You guys are so smart. It's water. Okay. Anybody want to guess? Anybody want to say how much they spend on water? Logan's a big spender. Okay. 5. Okay. Okay. Really high class water. What? Any thoughts? Real expensive. What'd you say, Danny? $8. Okay. All right. You guys want to know how much this thing costs? Okay. Not that, but you're yeah, pretty high guess, but it's only $60,000. It's not, yeah. So 60,000. Okay, I can tell you what these are called, but I can't pronounce them, so there's no point in me explaining it to you. Okay. Are you guys ready? Okay, this pizza is a place, I think it's in Italy, called Louis XIII Pizza, and it's a special pizza you have to order like ahead of time, obviously. And then this water bottle or whatever is called. Anybody know Italian? Lamar, where's Lamar? Did he leave? When Lamar comes back, he'll read it to us. Okay. Oh, hey Lamar, can you come here? Can you read Italian? Sort of. Come here. Okay, so you have to read. This is a $60,000 bottle of water, so you can read this to us. I agreed. Yeah. Can you read that? I think that's it. Is that Italian?
It's kind of messed up.
Sorry,
Yeah,
that's the internet. Go ahead.
Cristallo Tributo Modigliani.
There we go. Did you guys catch that?
That's
Say it louder.
Cristallo Tributo Modigliani. So it's,
Expensive.
yeah, that doesn't
Yeah. Good job, Lamar. Okay, so I don't think. Okay, I'll give these extreme examples because I don't think any of us are really going to fall for that, right? Can we agree to that? I hope you don't. Okay, I know Logan won't because Logan won't spend more than $5 on any of this stuff. So, okay, so the point of this is that there's things that we need in our daily life, but when they become something of excess, it can become the world to us. Okay, so this is a simple example, but we need entertainment, we need education, we need food, we need shelter, we need transportation. All that stuff is what we need. But if it's too much, it's a hiding place for Satan to usurp us, to illegally take control and to influence our life. Do you agree with that? Is there kind of an inward amen within you when I say that? You know what I'm talking about? I don't need to give examples. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? I'll give one example. Anybody have one of these? Do you need one of these? It's debatable. I'm with you on that one. It depends on who you are and what you're doing, but maybe you don't, but maybe you do need one. Does this thing ever usurp you? How many times have you been going to like read the Bible or like pray or something like that, and all of a sudden you get a text and you're like, 20 minutes later, there goes your Bible reading. Anyone happen to anyone before? Okay, so we know what we're talking about. Okay, okay, what's next? Oh yeah, okay. So what does it mean to be usurped? What it basically means is that we stop feasting. Satan tries to get us to stop feasting with God, stop worshiping him, then it's over. It could be, and unfortunately, you guys, for most of us, we don't need a $12,000 pizza to stop worship. We don't need a $60,000 bottle of water for Satan to usurp us. He can usurp us with something as simple as a text message. And so that means we need to live a life that is full of enjoying Christ and feasting on him. Then we'll be happy. You don't need it. Okay. You guys still with me? All right. Okay, here's one more slide. This is going to be a long-looking slide. Don't worry, I'm not going to read all the verses. I know it's the end of the day. It's okay, I'm not going to read the verses. But I want to point something else out. Do you know so obviously Pharaoh didn't respond that great to God when he said, let my people go. He was like, no. Then, some plagues start coming, some things start going down. He's like, oh, maybe I should actually respond to this person. And what happens is Pharaoh tries to make some deals with Jehovah. Has anyone ever tried to make a deal with God before? How's that go? How's that work out for you? Mariah's shaking her head because she knows. It's kind of like it doesn't work that way, right? You can be like, and I've done this before. I'm like, okay, Lord, I will, if you give me this, then I will do this. And you know what happens? I never get this. I never get it. So, our experience is that we realize that when God says something, he doesn't change. He holds to it. We're the ones who change. We're the ones who try to manipulate situations to kind of get what we want, despite the fact that God does not change. So, same is true with Pharaoh. So, I'm not going to walk through all these verses, but I'm just going to point out a couple things, okay? Pharaoh first says, which is in the first verse in verse 28, he says, in the middle of it, he says, only you shall not go very far away. So he's like, okay, you can go. Just stay in my land. Don't go that far away. Then he says in verse 11, go down here. He says, go now, but the men only. He's like, only the men can go, not the women and children. Then another time he says, where is it? Okay, 24. He says, go serve Jehovah, only let your flocks and your herds be detained. Your little ones may also go with you. That's not a bad deal. He's like, you can leave your animals here, but all your people can go. God's like, no, we don't compromise. So what Satan does, this is one of his tactics to usurp us, is he tries to get us to compromise in our pursuit of the Lord. And you might have heard this question before. You might have heard this question from people that you are friends with or family or whatever. They might ask this question, are you going to church again? It's a Monday night. You have to go to church again? Are you going to Bible study again? Don't you spend a lot of time with your Christian people? Do you need to spend more time with them? Have you guys ever heard that before? Okay. Or this other question, like, can't you be Christian and still do this and still do that? There's always this temptation from Satan to compromise. Like, okay, you can go worship God, just stay in the land, don't leave the land. God's very clear. Separation and feasting. That's what he wants. Okay. I was going to tell a story, but I don't have time. So I know, stories are great. There's more to come, don't worry. Okay. Okay, so. Okay, I'll just keep going. So, let me ask you a question. And it's kind of the answers here, so don't look too much at it, all right? Why do you think God sent the plagues? You can answer, by the way. Just go for it. That's a good answer. To get Pharaoh lets people go. That's right. Which is true. Jack?
To challenge the gods of Egypt.
Yep, he did do that. Yep. Anybody else? Show his power. Yep. Good. Okay. I made a discovery recently about this exact point, and I was pretty blown away by it. Okay, you guys ready for it? You guys ready for this is the part of the apple that you eat, okay? This is the juice. All right. So I was actually talking to Oliver and Amanda about this on Thursday, so it's like I've kind of been brewing with me a little bit. Let me make a claim, and then I'll show you the verses, okay? God's people wanted to be rescued from their situation, but there's not a verse that says that they wanted to leave Egypt. I don't know if God's people wanted to leave Egypt. I think they just wanted to not have such harsh conditions. That's what this verse says. It says, if you look at the end of it in 23, and they cried out, it says, the children of Israel groaned because of the bondage, and they cried out to their God, and their cry went up to God because of their bondage. So they were basically like, hey, we're in a bad spot, and Pharaoh's just killing us with tasks and jobs and work. They cried out because of their bondage, not because they wanted to leave. You know who wanted to leave? Jehovah. He was like, let's get out of here. Let's dip. Let's go. They were like, we just have a bad situation. Have you ever had this experience before where you're like in a situation that's difficult and you're just like, man, let me say it like this. Let me go from this perspective. Have you ever talked to someone who has complained about something significantly? You're like, they just complain about one particular situation, maybe it's work or whatever, and they just complain. And you're like, dude, get a new job. Like, what is the deal? Like, get out of there. And then what do they say? It's not that bad, right? Have you heard that before? Okay. That's the children of Israel. That's Utah. That's the children of Israel. Right? Because look, it's like, okay, it's not that bad. Like I just don't want it to be as bad as it is, you know? So what did God need to do? Okay, so sorry, we'll get there. Okay, sorry, Todd, for calling you out. Okay, so in Exodus 6, 8, and 9, Moses is speaking in 8. He says, he's talking on behalf of Jehovah and says, I will bring you to the land which I swore to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, and I will give it to you as a possession. I am Jehovah. Okay. He made them a promise. He made God's people a promise about 400 years prior. I don't know if you guys heard about this recently, but something happened in the basketball world. I know Logan knows about this. I assume you know about this. There's a guy who made a half-court shot at UMass. You know what I'm talking about? He made a half-court shot, and the people who said they were going to pay him the $10,000 for making the shot said he stepped over the line. You guys hear about this? Okay. So they basically backed out of the $10,000 prize. Okay. It's almost as if God's like, I'm going to give you this land, but I'm not going to make good on it for 400 years. So the reason why I say that is because you kind of have to sympathize for the children of Israel. They were like, yeah, Jehovah said he was going to do this, but like, he's been away for a long time. We've been in Egypt for a long time. So what do they say? They spoke to so Moses spoke this to the children of Israel, but they did not listen to Moses on account of anguish of spirit and harsh bondage. We'll get back to anguish of spirit and harsh bondage. But my point is this. We have to realize that God needed. So okay, let me clear something up real quick. Okay, if God fulfills His promise now, or in 400 years, does that make any difference on who He is? No. Okay, good. Switch to clear. Don't be upset with God. Okay. He also told us something. You remember what He told us? What His promise is to us? That He is coming again. He's coming again. Has it happened yet? Not yet. Are we like, no, it's not going to happen? We got to be careful because we can be like the children of Israel. We can be just like them. You see what I'm saying? It's very easy to be like, He said He was going to do it, but like, that was a long time ago, and we're just kind of like, I'm doing my thing. I'm focused on my career. I'm like, He's going to do what He does, and I'm just going to hang out. Okay, so be careful of that. That's called being usurped by Satan, by the way. Okay, so He needed to send the plagues. On one hand, you guys were right, to defeat Pharaoh, to show Pharaoh kind of who his boss, to show him his power. But really, He needed to send the plagues so that God's people would see this is the true condition of the world. The place that you're living in is actually the world and a place that I don't want you to be. So the only way to expose sometimes something, if you're in a negative situation, it kind of has to blow up on you. Have you guys ever had that experience before? Okay, I think we all have. Okay, so the point of the plagues really is to show God's people the condition of the world. Okay, you guys ready for the plagues now? All right. So I'm just going to skip 1 John 2:17. I think it's okay to skip it. All right. So anybody remember what the first plague is without looking at it? Any memories? It's not the frogs, but that's close. The river, yep. The river turned into blood. Okay. So what I want you to do is, now, I'm only going to cover a couple plagues, but I'm going to apply the plagues to us. Does that make sense? So we can kind of understand it. All right. So the first thing He does is He strikes the river, and the river turned to blood. All right. So this river is the Nile River. You guys know the Nile River? Have you heard of it? I hope. Okay. It's like pretty much what keeps Egypt alive. It's why Egypt is what it is. Some characteristics about it are it's where they get their food, or where they get their water. It's where how they either get their crops, so it's how they get their food. It's how they get their entertainment and enjoyment. They hang out on the river. And it's also how they trade and how they make a bunch of money. Does that sound like anything I described earlier today? Does it sound like our human necessities? Like that's what you need to do that. You need to eat, you need to drink, you need to trade, you need to, have a nice time. So that's what the river was to them. When they turned the river to blood, that showed them this is the true condition of this thing that you depend upon. So let me say it like this. You might, okay, I don't know how to even get into this example. Okay, you might enjoy something, but then over time, the Lord might touch you that what you're enjoying is actually not that great. Has that happened to anybody? You guys know what I'm talking about? And you have a feeling inwardly that this is like kind of death. This is really quite negative. That is experiencing the river turning into blood. Okay, let me tell you a quick story, okay? Just a very, very quick story. When I was younger, I'm still young, but when I was younger, I used to play a lot of music. And one thing I like to do when I played music, I was like, I have told the story. I was in it. Anyways, I played music with people and friends and whatever. And for me, at the time, playing my guitar was a very big source of pleasure and enjoyment to me. Okay, is playing guitar sinful? I don't think so. But over time, the more I began to follow the Lord began to touch certain things that I would play on the guitar. And I had this sense, this impression that when I played this, I just kind of like, it's almost like I lost the Lord's presence. I kind of like got filled with a certain kind of deathly kind of inward feeling. Has anyone had this experience before? Okay, so I stopped for a period of time. I just like kind of went cold turkey, didn't play guitar. And this is back when I was living in California. I grew up in California. So then I went home for a break, and I was at home, and a bunch of my friends were like, hey, let's play together. And so I was like, oh yeah. So we, got together. We were jamming. I was shredding, just kidding. No, anyway, I was playing, sorry. And they were having a blast because it was like nice to be together. We've hadn't been together for a while. So they were having a blast, and I was having a good time. But then the more I played, the more I just had this inward feeling, this is just death. And eventually I was like, all right, guys, I got to go. And so I stopped, put the guitar down, and I went home. And I was done. And by and large, this is not a rule for anybody. I'm just telling you my experience. By and large, every time I've touched that type of stuff, it's just death to me every time. So maybe you've had this experience, maybe you have not, but we'll touch it. You'll realize this thing that I once depended upon and enjoyed has now become blood to me. It's like death to me. I don't need this anymore. Okay, that's what the first plague represents. Second plague, anybody know? You got it. Frogs. Okay. I've got a lot of stories about this one, but let me just comment on something before I tell the story. Okay, so the river swarmed with frogs, and the frogs came into their house. It's kind of disgusting, actually. Came into their house, went into your bedchamber, went upon your bed. My wife doesn't even like it. My wife hates it when I'm wearing the same clothes I wore that day, and then I go into my bed. So I can't even imagine what it was like to have frogs on your bed. Okay, and then it was upon your people, in your ovens, and in your kneading bowls. Okay, so frogs were everywhere. All right, so the frog. Okay, has anybody? Oh man, I wish Willem was still here. Bummer. It's okay. Has anybody had like a dream? Something, fill in the blank, a dream car or a dream whatever, or a dream something. And you might be too young, you might not have yet touched or experienced that dream thing. But I've had a few of those in my experience, my lifetime. I'll give you one specific example that's very fresh to me at this moment. Ever since I was probably like 19 years old, I have always wanted a truck. Matthew's laughing because Matthew's been dealing with my truck for about 6 months. Okay, so I've always wanted a truck because I just want to do truck things. I just I just want a truck. So anyways, I've been figuring it for the last I don't know how long, for the last long time, been trying to figure out how to get a truck. Anyways, fast forward, I got one. So you'd think I'd be happy, right? And I was happy. But then, things just kept going wrong. Like I have a check engine light that won't go away. A check engine light is a fraud, just for the record, straight up. A check engine light happened. I can ignore those, but I can't ignore them if I want to register my vehicle in Colorado, then I can't. So here's the issue. This truck that I've wanted for so long has just given me so many frogs. There's frogs everywhere. Okay, let me tell you one story that just happened last week. Okay, on Thursday, me and Cameron go to Costco to get some food for the Super Bowl. Okay, we go to Costco, get food, come out to the truck. I hop in the truck, close the door, put my key in the ignition, I turn it, and nothing happens. I was like, are you kidding me? And so, anyway, so long story short, eventually someone comes and jumps the truck. And that was great. I'm driving home. As I'm driving home, the locks are opening and closing, and it's like okay. Matthew knows it was doing weird things, right, Matthew? We took a video because it was so weird. Okay, so and it was like the odometer was going up, and it was just like the weird. And if you know vehicles, you guys know that's like very unusual. So, anyways, I'm like driving home, and I end up driving straight to O'Reilly's. I get there, turn the truck off. The person wants to test my battery. Zero, nothing. They can't even test it because it had such little voltage. They couldn't test anything. Okay, long story short, I get a new battery. They test it. It's fine. Then I go home, and I'm like kind of annoyed that this happened. And I tell my wife, and she kind of tells me the same thing she always tells me was, is it worth it? No, like, are you sure the Lord wanted you to have this truck? And I was like, well, I'm not sure anymore. But anyways, so long story short, I've been thinking about why is my truck doing this? And I call Matthew and I call Lamar, and basically, I wanted my truck to be cool, right? You guys, I don't know if you guys know what this experience is like. You want whatever you have to be cool. I wanted my truck to be cool, and the coolest thing you can put on a truck is a light bar. Can someone confirm? Someone confirm. Okay, so I put a light bar on my truck. It was so cool, but my light bar is way too powerful for my truck. And so you know what I did? I showed off my light bar to my friends who are in this room mostly, and like Aaron, and they saw how bright it was. It was super cool, right, Aaron? It was super cool. It lit up. That's right. It was super cool. But you know what it did? It drained my whole battery, and I had to buy a new battery. Okay, so here's the thing. Does that sound like frogs to you? Isn't that in every single part of my truck? It was like there was just frogs. So anything that we have that occupies us, that really makes us, have a lot of hope and expectation and excitement in. Okay, not that we shouldn't have those things. Don't misunderstand me. But one day you will find those things will have frogs. And what's the point of that? To expose this thing does not and is not satisfying to you and does not help you actually in your feasting to God and your worship to God. Okay. Is everyone doing okay? Okay. Okay. Oh boy. Has anyone had? Okay. Maybe I should stop talking about this. Okay, you got the frogs, right? Everyone clear on the frogs? The frogs are just problematic. Okay, so here's the good part. You guys ready for the good part? This is all bad. So the plagues expose what the world is to us, but now we have our cooperation. All right. So would you like to know how to deal with this? This problematic situation? For sure? Okay. All right. So I'm going to read this verse to you again. We already covered it, but I'm going to read it again. It says, Moses spoke to the children of Israel, but they did not listen to Moses on account of anguish of spirit and harsh bondage. Okay. The way we deal with the world is, we could give a whole conference on this topic, but I only have not much time left. But let me just go briefly through this. It says that on account of anguish of spirit, their spirit was weakened. It's like, okay, it's almost like, I was thinking about this illustration. It's like your spirit's supposed to be a grape. You guys know what a grape is? You know what happens when a grape loses all of its moisture? What does it become? It becomes a raisin, which are delicious. But it's like your spirits are raisin. It's supposed to be strong. But because of our spirit becoming kind of weak, then we actually don't want to leave Egypt. We're like, you know what? I don't really want to leave the world. The world's kind of okay I'm okay with the world. I kind of like the world. It's like, actually, I kind of get a lot of enjoyment, entertainment out of the world. That's primarily because our spirit is a little bit weak. So we need to strengthen our spirit. Can we say, let's pray this together. Let's say, Lord, strengthen my spirit. Ready, set, go. Lord, strengthen my spirit. Okay, one more time. Ready, go. Lord, strengthen my spirit. Anytime you feel like you find frogs or you touch something you feel like this is just death, just say, Lord, strengthen my spirit. Okay? The Lord will strengthen you. All right. Yes. Okay. Here's another point. Okay. How about this? Let's all stand up together and read this one. Exodus 6:26. Let's all stand up. Okay. Ready, set, go.
It was the same Aaron and Moses.
Bring out the children of Israel from the land of Egypt, according to their. Okay. Everyone stay standing. Read the last 4 words. 3 words. 4 words. Sorry, 4 words.
According to their armies.
Did you know? You can sit down. Did you know he called them armies? I would think it'd be like according to their families. You know, that's a little bit more logical. But he said according to their armies. So what does that mean? That means we need, in order to escape from the world, in order to escape from this bondage, we need one another. We need our fellow soldiers. Because it's a battle. It's a real fight. Armies is a very particular word. If you are an independent Lone Ranger Christian, you're probably not going to escape the world. I can pretty much guarantee it. Do you know why? The Christian life was not designed to be lived only in an individual way. It was designed to be lived together. Okay. Last 2 points. 1 John 2:15 says, "Do not love the world, nor the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, love for the Father is not in him." This verse is very strong and should have a little bit of a prick within, like, oof, yeah, that's right. I sometimes maybe I don't like, maybe a little bit of love for the world. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a little bit. So how do you not love the world? Okay, if I said, Gary, don't love the world. Like Gary's like, okay. So like that's helpful. I mean, amen, that's true, right, Gary? But that's not that like helpful. How do I not love the world? Like the world is in me, right? You know how you not love the world? It says, if anyone loves the world, love for the Father is not in him. So you just say, Father, I love you. Let's all say it together. Ready, set, go. Father, I love you. The more you love God, the less you love the world. You know how to love God more? You got to tell him. If I never told my wife I don't love her, which I do love her, just for the record, that's not up for debate. If I never told her that, I mean, man, that'd be terrible. I mean, that'd be awful. My kids, who was there? Who were there? At the Super Bowl yesterday, my son was running by and he just said, "Love you, Dada." And I was like, "I love you too, Benji." My son's sweet. Anyways, so of course I know my son loves me. When he tells me, it's just like, it's just like my heart just like melts. You know what I'm saying? So that's the way the Lord feels when you tell him that you love him. And you know what happens? It becomes more real. It becomes so much more real. So the way you not love the world is you love God himself by telling him that you love him. Okay, the last thing is be baptized, which we're not going to talk about now because we don't have time. And it's another topic. So the way they literally got out of Egypt was they got baptized. Okay, so I'm going to say one more thing. Actually, no, I'm not. I think we're good. Everyone clear? Sorry for going long. I apologize.